when you're a pro, you need to have a hellacious hole to take a 7.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, the A-Plus League.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the A-Plus Sports League Golf Edition. Here with me, we've got Chris O'Neill. Chris?
What's happening? That's a hell of an introduction, Matt. What's going on?
Not much, man. Not much. Long day. Second podcast of the day.
Yeah, that's all right. Grind it through. Let's get after it.
All right. Today we've got the Bermuda Championship.
It's going to be a fun one. I mean, it's a weak field relative to the last couple of weeks that we've had on the PGA Tour. They're going to be out of the country, which means that you're not going to see a lot of the golfers that we had last week. I think the only overlap is going to be Brandon Todd, who's making the trip cross country out to the island for this tournament. But it's going to be very similar to the Corrales that they had a couple of weeks ago, the Punta Cana tournament. You're going to dig pretty deep for golfers in this field, and you're going to see some of the younger guys excel. Should be a fun opportunity to see a couple names at the top of the leaderboard that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, you were right. Brendan Todd is the only golfer, not the only golfer that is coming from the Zozo today. And damn, that Zozo really got me. I had 7 top 10 bets out there, and one of them hit. Justin Thomas.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Burned you. Patrick Cantlay. What can you say about him? He got hot at the right time, but he's a guy who's pissed me off pretty much this entire season.
Oh. I'm right there with you. And to be honest, you should have seen it coming too. I mean, he's a guy that does well at Memorial. It had a great correlation with Memorial. Like, people were talking about it the whole time. People were talking up John Rahm, and he finished well too. But Patrick Cantlay, I didn't even look his way.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've had him on my betting card, had him in my DraftKings, he's done nothing but disappoint. And then the one week I try to fade him when he has a good course correlation, he comes back and kicks my ass.
Kisses your ass?
Shut up. Yeah.
Well, no wonder why you don't pick them. All right. But yes, this week we've got the Bermuda Championship. And like Chris said, we've got a lot of names that we don't normally see on the tour. It's going to be an exciting one. This is a nice little field with a lot of young golfers. I mean, this is where names like Victor Hovland and Colin Morikawa and Scotty Scheffler really pop up, is in tournaments like this. So it's going to be fun to kind of explore some of these younger guys. And we got some old guys here too. But we can dive right into it. This is at, what's it called? Port Royal, George's? I forget what it's called, the actual course name.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, Port Royal Golf Course in Southampton, Bermuda, which actually, when I went to a wedding last year in Bermuda in Southampton, it was right down the street. Didn't think anything of it because there was a golf course on the resort, but it's a nice area.
Yeah, Oceanside golf course. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be pretty consistent out there this week, and yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is, just firsthand experience on the island, the weather is so volatile down there. It can rain for 15 minutes, and then it's sunny right after that, and it comes back and forth. It's crazy. So there's some rain forecasted on Saturday and Sunday. It might come in spurts. It might last all day. I really have no idea. It's one of those ones where I can't really bank on what the weather report is, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to take a look at it, obviously, on the first couple of days if you're playing some of those DraftKings showdowns for the first round or for the second round, to see which golfers are going off in the morning versus the afternoon. Try to get a head start on, what you think they're going to be competing with weather-wise. But it's a good thing to start to look at. So let's see. We got a par 71 this week, 6,800 yards. And based off the course history, what we have from last year, it's a pretty tight course. It's got small fairways. The fairways hit off of the drives or close to around like 50%, 55%, somewhere around there. Rough, though, doesn't seem that difficult. We looked at some of the GIR numbers from last year that we can pull up the course history stats. We're actually above the course average, which means that it's a short course. It's got reachable par 4s, very reachable par 5s, and that if you're missing the fairway, you're not going to be in that much trouble at the course this week.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are missing the fairway compared to tour average, but they're still sticking the green. So I mean, it's not a bomb and gouge course, but it's definitely a course where you can get off the path a little bit, and I think you're going to be fine. The greens here, super soft. Bermuda, of course. We're in Bermuda, so. But they're a little softer than usual. I think it's a little bit more like Paspalum because it is out on an island, but it should be interesting to see who's going to do well on shot gain putting this week.
Yeah.
I mean, Brendan Todd's a great putter, and he's the defending champ. So.
Okay, yeah, and this course features 6 par 4s that are under 400 yards, so they're really going to be sticking these greens with the short wedge approaches. They're not going to be approaching from 150 or 200 and having to run it up there. They're actually going to be throwing darts. So we'll get to see the young kids and some of the tour players that maybe aren't as good at doing that, the Justin Thomases of the world. Really looking good on the course today, and going to expect to see a ton of birdies.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good birdie fest. I mean, I don't think it's going to be quite as much as we've been seeing recently. I think last year's cut was right around -1, but the winner finished up at, -24. So there are a lot of birdies to be scored here, but guys can definitely get out of control here very fast. So it should be an interesting one. As we said, Brendan Todd was the winner last year at 24 under. He had a -9 final round. What a start for the Todd father last year.
An absolute boss. Yeah, that's it's gonna be a hell of a number. We're gonna see who can compete with something like that because this is a course too. Once it's playing very easily, you get in the rhythm with a lot of consistent par 4s where it's you're hitting 3-wood into the fairway and approaching from 125. You get into a rhythm, you start sticking those shots, and you're making birdies. You can see some pretty low numbers.
So we want to talk about who's hot and cold, I guess, coming into this? It's hard to tell because a lot of these guys haven't played the last few tournaments. I mean, we've had some no-cut events with some very tight fields. As Chris said, Todd's one of the only guys coming over here. I don't really see too many names that even played in the tournament before that, to be honest.
No. So if we go back a couple other tournaments, back to Liz Anderson, Corrales, which is where you're going to see a lot of the same field. I guess some people from the Shriners too. The first guy that pops off to me is Peter Malnati. Very, very hot. Yeah, 2 top 5s in his last 2 starts. Runner-up at the Sanderson Farms, and he's somebody who's just quietly kicking ass.
Yeah, he had a second place finish. Really challenged Sergio when Sergio pulled out that random victory 3 years later than his last one. But yeah, he had a second and a fifth. He's had great form coming into this after having a bunch of missed cuts before that. I mean, it's funny. I checked my rankings going all the way back to the restart. He was 102nd.
Wow.
Now he's 8th in the same model in the last 3 months. So from 6 months to 3 months, he's really jumped up on the shot gain data.
All right, so that's accelerated form. Then the other guy that I see that really pops off is obviously one of the tournament favorites in Zalatoris. Zalatoris was, I think, a Corrales projected to win. I think he might have been the betting favorite, if not one of the more expensive guys on DraftKings. Did great at the U.S. Open. Slipped up a little bit, I think, at the Sanderson. Might have missed the cut there. And then another top 5 at the Shriners. So Will Zalatoris is a name that a lot of people are going to be throwing around this week as somebody who's going to be pretty successful.
And people really just want to bet Will Zalatoris. I mean, he's an exciting player. You go to the U.S. Open, you finish 6th, and then all of a sudden you go to these short fields against competition that's a third as good as one of those majors, and it's like, well, this guy can go out and win it against this field any day.
Yeah, but he's one of those Corn Ferry guys that's just gotten very, very hot, and he's a young golfer, and he's sort of following the model of people we didn't get comfortable trusting just until this year, like the Matt Wolfs or the Colin Morikawas or the Scotty Schefflers of the world, and then once you see them coming out of that sort of class of young golfers actually winning tournaments, you realize that that potential will correlate to success once they get up to the PGA level, which is great. The other guy too that I have my eyes set on, somebody again that Morikawa, Wolf, Victor Hovland band is Justin Suh.
So talked up. So talked up, Justin Suh.
Yeah, well, he's got 2 top 15s in his last 2 starts on the tour. He had a 14 at Corrales. He tied for 8 Shriners. Very quietly, sort of underperforming. I put him at 4th or 5th in that group as somebody who should pick up some steam, some momentum going into the 2021 season. You'll start to see his name on the leaderboards peppered around there somewhere. This might be the tournament where he breaks out. Take a look.
Might be. Yeah, I think these young golfers are almost like football, like fantasy football. There's these young guys that you want to see explode, and that's what I think people are really going after in these golf tournaments now, because you see so many of these young golfers going off and winning. I mean, Colin Morikawa goes out and wins a major, and it's like, can I find the next good guy at a good value? And Suh was one of those guys that was coming up with Matthew Wolff and Victor Hovland and Morikawa. So I can definitely see trying to use him in as many lineups as possible. He is on my short list of potential bets this week for an outright win. On the opposite end of the spectrum, someone who is not young and someone who is not doing very good right now is Henrik Stenson. I mean, I bet the guy so often, but I just don't know if I can do it anymore. In his last 7 events, miscut at the Sanderson, 21st at Punta Cana, which is a tournament he should easily win, miscut at the U.S. Open, miscut at the PGA, and 35th at the WGC St. Jude. And that's 6. The 7th one was on Arnold Palmer, which was before COVID, and he missed the cut there too. He's just had terrible form. He's gaining some strokes on approach, but not as much as he used to. And if he's not gaining strokes on approach, he's not going to be gaining it on the green. So it's one of those guys that I really want to play, but it's just until I see something, it's hard to pull the trigger,
Yeah, Stenson's definitely been struggling a good amount this year. It's been hard to really gauge how he's going to perform week to week, but yeah, it'd be good to get away from him this week, I think, if that's where your comfort zone is. Another guy that I see that's been struggling recently, and I think it's basically just because of the last couple of tournaments he's had obviously higher competition, is Brandon Todd. Hasn't really rounded into
I was just about to say.
Yeah, he did have a top 20 at the Tour Championship, but obviously you're starting with a handicap there. 23rd at the U.S. Open, finished 8th at the BMW, but outside of that, 64th. He's got a missed cut at the Wyndham. Just kind of been kicking around at like the middle of the leaderboard. Hopefully with the lighter competition, maybe he can come together.
Well, the thing I noticed, and I noticed at first when he was playing against DJ, and he just blew the lead in that tournament at which one was it? The Travelers.
Travelers, yeah, Connecticut.
And during that time, he was having a lot of top 20 finishes, and I think the key to it was he was gaining strokes on approach, he was gaining strokes off the tee and around the green. And since then, he is literally just getting by with the putter. He's gaining strokes on the putter at the BMW, at the U.S. Open, and it's kept him in it, but he's losing strokes everywhere else, off the tee, on approach. He's missing everything but the putter right now. So if it comes back at this tournament, it clicks, he might be up there, but to rely just on the putter, it's tough to take him when he's the highest priced golfer in the field.
Yeah, and with the difficult fairways to hit, you want to trust somebody who's going to be pretty accurate. You don't need a ton of length at this field, so.
And Brendan Todd is accurate, so that is one thing in his favor. But do you want to just get down to the DraftKings pricing at this point? We've already kind of started talking about some of these guys. Right at the top at 11,100 is Brendan Todd, and we already kind of went into Brendan Todd.
Yeah, defending champ. It's got to be at the top. I mean, he's the most qualified golfer. He's the highest in the world golf rankings right now. He's played competitively the last couple of weeks, though, out on the West Coast. I don't know. I feel like there's value elsewhere with this. Brendan Todd, he's got the course history. His form might not be there, and you're traveling going into this, which I guess most people are. I don't know. We said that a couple of weeks ago with friggin' Hatton, right?
Yeah, I always travel across the country.
BMW.
He's going to be so tired.
Yeah.
It was out his first round leader.
I know. I think we're stuck too much in the...
trying to find a narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to work. Golfers, these guys are all professionals, but I feel like for the top of the charts, it's going to be tough to justify the 11,100 that they have right now on Brandon Todd. So let's jump down to the 4 other guys that are listed at $10,000 and above. That's Will Zalatoris, Harold Varner III, Doc Redmond, and Emiliano Grillo.
Yeah, of those 4 guys, I mean, we already talked about Big Willie Z. Big Willie Z has just been on a hot streak, but he burned me the one week I took him. I think he could have a good bounce back. 10-9's a little expensive, but if you kind of go with the stars and scrubs lineup, I like Will Zalatoris. Varner's been pretty good too, but the guy I really am targeting in this range is Doc Redman. He's number one in my model. When I set all this, proximity ranges and the shot gain data, he popped right up for me. Funny thing is about Bermuda, it's right in line with the Carolinas. No, not many people realize that. It's right in line with the Carolinas, and guess what? Doc Redman plays his best golf in Carolina weather. He loves it. It's an island course, so it's not the exact same, but it's very close by. He's just popping in the model. He's had top 3 at the Wyndham, and he had a top 3 at the Safeway. Very similar courses, both Bermuda greens, both fields that, when he's at the top of the field, he's competing. You put him in at the Northern Trust or the Memorial, he misses the cut. But you put him in these smaller fields with Bermuda greens, and he's been on fire. So that's one guy I'm really going to go after.
Yeah, and my guy in that range, actually number 2 of my model, is HV3, Harold Varner. He's just consistent, and he struggles a little bit with the putter. Hopefully he can get it going this week. But in his last, in his last 20 tournaments, when he is losing on approach, he is losing the tournament. He's not making cuts. And that, once he gets that moving, that part of his game, he's great off the tee. He's pretty decent around the greens, and then his putter is pretty much average for the tour. I think with the approach number, it's going to go up this week because they're having those shorter approaches. You're only approaching from 125-ish on some of these par 4s. And par 4s, 350 to 400, he's second in the field. So I like Harold Varner this week.
Harold Varner's a good play, and it's a guy that can really drive the ball, hit the fairways, and compete with them. He had similar results as Doc Redman. He came in 7th at the Wyndham, which is a nice tournament, 29th at the PGA Tour. So it's definitely a guy that can make some noise if the approach comes back to what it was at the start of the post-COVID break. Yeah. So it's a guy I like too. I don't know. What about your boy Griot? You were talking him up on Monday.
I love Griot. He's a poor man's Joaquin Neiman. I find him. I equate the two of them way too much. And they're good ball strikers, consistent off the tee, and just the shittiest putters. Oh, absolutely terrible. And if that part of his game can just come together, you're going to see him top 15, top 20, top 10s, just very, very easily. He'll have a couple of good rounds, but it really depends on the putter. Around the green, he's 85th in the field, and putting, he's 119. 119. And he's been on the tour for a while. You're getting some players right now that, are making their first handful of starts. They're coming off the Corn Ferry. This guy's been putting on PGA greens for a long time, the last couple of years, and 119th in the field is terrible. It's not going to get it done, especially at the price that he's going off at 10-1.
A shocking putting, Griot?
Griot? That's what I'm looking at.
I got 70th here.
70th. What do you filter? Are you filtering?
Shocking putting. Emiliano Griot. I got him 70th. I was about to say, the comment I was going to make is he's a bad putter, but in this field, he's clearly not as bad as some of these people.
The hell are you looking at? I'm looking at the last 2.
I'm looking at the last 3 months.
Oh. Thank you. We should clarify that.
Now, in the last 3 months, he's gotten a little bit better with the flat stick. He's definitely not a good putter, and he's going to have to get by with his irons, but he's 3rd in the last 3 months at GIR's gains. So if he sticks the pin within a couple of feet, it's not going to matter if his putter sucks. So it's a good one to play, but personally, I like Redman and Varner a little bit more in that range. If I'm going to go with that.
All right. Want to jump down on the 9,000s?
Yeah, guy right below him, I actually like a little bit, just kind of because of his narrative, is Charlie Hoffman. Big resort course guy, another guy that just struggles in one of these big tournaments. But when it comes to one of these smaller little island tournaments, he's right there.
On your betting card, Charlie Hoffman, Mr. First Round Leader.
Mr. First Round Leader, yeah. I missed it before, and I regret it ever since. But he came 6th at Sanderson, 14th at Corrales Punta Cana. This is his kind of tournament. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it is just a First Round Leader bet. Maybe it's not an outright bet, but he's a guy that I'll definitely go use, especially in DraftKings.
Yeah, he's somebody who gets hot. He's pretty consistent. He's an old guy. He's on vacation right now, so Hey, he could have himself a good week.
A little sex with the wife in between rounds, just Charlie's just living his dream.
Slow it down. The guy right behind him, though, is going to be one of the best putters in the field that we see is Denny McCarthy.
Yeah, he's a great putter. I never know what to do with Denny. Every time I think he's gonna pop, he just doesn't. I mean, he did again, another guy that did well at Sanderson, but at Punta Cana, where I thought he was really gonna crush it, not as much. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I have a tough time trusting him in a lot of things, especially DraftKings. So the thing is, with that, when I'm putting together a lineup, putting is the biggest variable. We try to dissect it as much as we can, but I prefer to lean towards ball strikers because you're going to get a more consistent performance out of people like that. Denny McCarthy listed up here at 9,500. To me, I just scroll right past that and keep going down to somebody that's going to compete a little bit more consistently.
It's a guy that you want to use when he's like sub 7K.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
I'll just throw Denny McCarthy in there. Like, not he's going to be the foundation of my lineup.
Exactly. Maybe he'll stick a couple of approach shots. He'll stay in the fairway, and then boom, you can get a top 10 out of him. But I don't know. This field is it's got a lot of good ball strikers, a lot of young talent. So I'm going to kind of stay away from that player profile this week.
Yeah, right below him. I mean, we already talked about Stenson. Not a fan. I can't get behind him. His irons are good, but everything else is just trash.
What do people see in Christopher Ventura? I don't get it.
It's the young guy chasing. That's what I was saying before. They want the next best thing. Like you were talking about Big Willie Z. Right behind him is Ventura. It's like, where can I find a guy that is going to pop, who can drive the ball like crazy? I mean, he's got that mold, and so people love going to him. I mean, he is high in my model. He, good with the GIRs, good with the fairways gain. The short game's not very good. He can drive it a mile off the tee. I mean, I think he'll compete, but
Yeah. And then the last guy that we have down here is Malnati. We already discussed today.
I love Malnati. I almost had him in as a one and done for a little bit, and then I backed off. It's the form. It's the recent form right now. He's very good. He's eighth in my model at 9K. I mean, I might build a lineup with some of the guys at the top and then try to pop him in there.
Let's jump down to the 8,000s. Henrik Norlander leads the way. He's got 8,900, fifth in my model. Mr. Consistency, pretty quiet, but I've seen people making a lot of money off him in DraftKings recently. I feel like he sort of gets buried down there in the 7,000s in a field like this. He's going to be up around 89. And he's somebody that just doesn't make bogeys.
No, I mean, he's always there, and even when he misses the cut, he flirts with the cut. He's not like finishing dead last. Bermuda is his preferred surface to putt on, so I mean he's right in his wheelhouse there. And he's competed in some big tournaments too. Sixth in the Memorial, that's nothing to laugh about, especially with this year's conditions. He has had 3 missed cuts out of his last 5 though, which is a little troublesome. I still like him, but it's
Yeah, I don't make a ton out of that because his play so far this year has just been so consistent, and I feel like he's one of the stronger golfers in the field, and I like him. You'll probably see him in my DraftKings lineup later this week.
yeah, I'm really sticking around with the top of this 8K range. I mean, Norlander's one I like. Suh is one that we were just talking about. Really like him. He's 10th in my model right now, and he's another big name, but he doesn't have many rounds to look at. And then I think the next big one that a lot of people are talking about, and Chris, you were talking about it before this, is Rasmus Højgaard.
Oh yeah, the Dane, the 19-year-old Dane who is absolutely
Højgaard.
lighting up Europe right now. Top fives all over the place. I think he won the UK Open. Yeah, small fields, but a ton of talent, and he's staying consistently near the top of all of those fields. He's coming over from Europe now, going to compete at the PGA level. What do you expect?
I mean, I haven't seen much of him, but from the stats that I saw from the European Tour and just what I've heard about him, I mean, he's on short list of guys I'm thinking about betting just because it seems like his talent level is superior to the field. So it's one of those guys that's not priced maybe appropriately because he doesn't have a lot of PGA Tour experience, but I think he flirts talent wise with the Zalatoris and Doc Redmans and Christoph Ventura, all those kind of guys. So I think he can really compete. I think he's an interesting player, and I'm definitely going to be using him, especially at this price. Like I'd rather take a risk on him instead of using Stenson or Tringale or Denny McCarthy. So
Yeah, he is skyrocketed in the last 2 months, and he's now in the top 75 of the official world golf rankings, which is just wild, wild stuff. So,
After that, I don't know about you. I don't like anything left in the 8K after that. Once you get past I am just I'm good.
yeah,
I don't see much. I don't see much value in any of those guys.
yeah, Luke List, no, it's not a bomb and gouge type of course. I mean, he'll be all over the place, probably be safe with the rough type that they're going to have this week, but doesn't really fit the profile for something that you'd expect to be successful this week. All right, and then Adam Schenk, who had a hot start, and Corrales, but that gets us out of the 8K range. So we're starting 7,900 with someone who's already won this year, Stuart Sink.
Stuart Sink has won this year, and he has been playing very well. To be honest, he's just been off my radar. And honestly, there's no stats behind it. I mean, he won a tournament. He had 5.2 shots gained on approach. Next week, 5.7 shots gained on approach. Next week, -10. Just complete 360. Just like good, better, awful.
Brutal.
So, I mean, he might turn it around, but the guy, I mean, I think that Safeway win was his first win in God knows how long, maybe ever. I don't even know. I'd have to pull up his player profile. It's either his first win ever. It's his first. No, there it is. His previous win before this year was 2004. So it's not a guy I think is going to come out and win another tournament 3 weeks after he won his first one in 15, 16 years. So I could see using him for DraftKings if he fits into your budget. 7,900 is not too expensive for a guy that can definitely flirt with the top 10, but that -10 on approach really just kind of threw me for a loop and really wanted me to make me stay away from him.
All right. So the guy that I got my eye on in this range at 7,800 is Wesley Bryant.
Yep.
Under 50% of the fairways, like we said, so shots off the tee, maybe not as valuable, but very strong in the approach. He's fourth in my model here. Very good on the approaches, 125 to 150. So if he's approaching out of the rough, I see him third based off of what I'm looking at. And he's just somebody who will linger, and he does pretty well in these small or some of these weaker field events. So a ton of missed cuts last year, but now that he's got himself back on tour, started off at the Travelers, 24th, 21st at the Rocket Mortgage, 31st at the Wyndham, 12th at the Sanderson Farms. He's somebody that's sort of regained his form after he, got a couple of practice rounds in at the Corn Ferry, and has been pretty hot for the end of the summer.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this. I haven't done a research on it, but he apparently had to take a year off for medical procedures. And so, I mean, a lot of those missed cuts were all the way up through 2018. He had to get some stuff taken care of. He comes back right before COVID, gets a few rounds in, a little bit on the Corn Ferry Tour, and then post the COVID break, 40, 68, 24, 21, 31, missed cut 12. He's right there. He's gaining shots off the tee, gaining shots on approach. The putter can get hot. I mean, in his last tournament, he gained 5.1 on the putter. He's got it working, and at the price, I really like him. He's going to be on my betting card. I see him here at 52 to 1. It's definitely a guy I'm interested in. In a tournament like this, he can compete.
Okay. Good. We can slide down a little bit now to the other guy that I have on my radar, top 15 in my model, is the Englishman, Tom Lewis.
Tom Lewis, really?
Yeah. I don't know. He came out of nowhere at the WGC St. Jude, finishing second there, and he was somebody that in that little stretch over the summer, heard his name with the Tyrrell Hattons, and a very strong ball striker. And we talked about some of the windy conditions that we got down there in Bermuda, potentially some rain. I always tend to favor Europeans. I don't know what it is. It's the style of golf. They're playing on the islands. It's just, just get a little more creative with the shot making, and as somebody who can, consistently hit from the fairway. His off the tee numbers are pretty much the only thing that he's been excelling at consistently recently. Kind of struggles around the green, but with those shorter approach shots, he might have a chance this week.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the wind, because according to Fantasy National, his ideal conditions are windy as fuck. He loses strokes when it's calm, when it's moderate, but when it's windy, he is making up ground, baby. Everyone else is fading away. He's like, fuck it, I'll deal with it. So Tom Lewis, not a bad play. I mean, he's had a lot of missed cuts recently, but I mean, second at WG St. Jude just a couple months ago. I mean, that was a stacked tournament, and if he can compete with those guys, he can definitely compete with this field. So that's not a bad play. Guy right above him that I actually like that was popping in my model, and he's been good with the wedges, Sepp Straka. Sepp. Really liking Sepp Straka. I mean, his form recently has been pretty good. Still struggling with the putter, but gaining strokes off the tee, getting a little bit better with the approach. You know, the approach was pretty good coming out of the break, and it really helped him. He had an 8th, a 14th, 18th in the tournaments coming out of the break, and he was gaining shots on approach. When he wasn't gaining shots on approach, he was doing bad. He gained 3.3 in his last tournament at the Shriners, and he's still gaining strokes off the tee. So if that shots gained approach can really come back, and then he gets hot with the putter, it's a guy that I think can, flirt with the top 20, and he's sitting down here at 7,600.
Yeah, that could be a pretty good play this week. He's somebody that I used to love in DraftKings because he was a sneaky little birdie maker. You get hot for a round or so. And yeah, he's been pretty consistent of late. So I'm all for it. The other guy that I have my eye on, though, in this is another recent form guy who I don't think that we talked about was Tyler McCumber. Tyler McCumber, runner-up in Corrales Punta Cana, 6th at the Sanderson. Miscut pretty much every tournament before then. We have a weak field this week, and he's somebody that seems to play pretty well when he's away from the United States. The second at the Corrales Punta Cana, and then in Puerto Rico back in February, he came in 20th, and that was his last made cut before.
I mean, him and Charlie Hoffman are just sitting at the poolside after a round, just drinking Mai Tais. I'm telling you, these guys just love the island.
Yeah. So he's been playing pretty well. I mean, he's been bucking the trend with pretty much everything. His tee to green numbers are off the charts compared to his previous history, but sometimes you just got to play the hot hand. And Tyler McCumber might be one of those guys that you like down there at 7,500.
It's not a bad play. I looked at him a little bit. I mean, his proximity is not great, but I mean, he, like you said, he does like these island courses, and he gains shots off the tee. So if he can keep it in the fairway, I mean, it might be easy for him to just chip it on and get a few putts going. Golfer I like in the lower 7K range, Jason Duffner. Hate going to him because he's just so fucking unreliable. But I mean, he's 13th in my model at 7,100. That's not bad. It's again one of these fields that he can just kind of compete with. Like you put him in some of these bigger fields, put him at the PGA, misses the cut. He's not going to compete with the Brysons of the world. But you want to put him in this little tournament like Wyndham, he was doing well, just couldn't make a fucking putt.
Don't worry about it. You're still in good shape. All you got to do is just tap it in. Just tap it in now. Hey, just tap it in.
Can't ever make a fucking putt. So, I mean, who knows? He might follow the Sergio trend and the Stewart Cink trend of team no putt and just get hot with it one of these days. But for 7,100, it's a guy I'll throw into my lineup if I, need to stash it with some cheap guys.
Yeah. Duffner, he had a good run a few years back, but I don't know. Like you're saying, a guy that I have a tough time trusting. I think in the past year, he's only gained with the putter in 3 tournaments, and those 3 tournaments were a tie for 36th, 27th, and a 29th. So even when he has been hot with that, he hasn't really been cracking the top 30 in the tournament. I mean, he has talent. He's pretty consistent in the fairway and getting close to the green. But then even when you get him on the tournaments that he's been successful recently, he hasn't really been sniffing the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I like his approach. I think when you put a wedge in his hand, he's very good. He's very good in those short, proximity 1 to 125, 125 to 150. That's his bread and butter. If he can keep it on the fairway, get it close, he can chip. Problem is, he can't putt. So hopefully he can chip it close enough, and then same situation with who? Griot, were we talking about, or somebody else where it was just better put it within 2 feet because he's gonna miss the putt otherwise. That's a name I liked.
Anybody else in the 7,000s we want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a few names I'm a little bit interested in. Chesson Hadley is a name I always kind of gravitate towards when I'm down in this range. what was the other one? Ben Martin, I heard, is the king of Bermuda. So he's an option, but he's a Corn Ferry guy. I don't know how much I trust him in this tournament. Yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Uh, Same thing. I had Jason Hadley pretty high up in my model. He's somebody that I don't even really have a profile for. He's somebody I've sort of skipped over whenever I've had the opportunity to either select him in DraftKings or get him onto a betting card. But based off his numbers, everything except for around the green is where he tends to struggle. So if he's sticking his wedges, he's getting in pretty close, and can get consistent with the putter. He might be a good play this week at 7,200.
Again, another guy whose preferred putting surface Bermuda, so that plays to his advantage a little bit. And yeah, he's been pretty good with the wedges. He's just got to stay out of the rough around those greens. All right, let's jump into the 6Ks real quick. I don't have a lot in here, and I probably got to dig a little bit deeper, but the first name that I like is Ryan Armour. He's a guy that right out of the COVID break came out hot. He had a 6th of the Travelers, 4th of the Rocket Mortgage, and has missed a shit ton of cuts ever since. But including the Punta Cana, and I had him at the Punta Cana all over the place. He might burn me again, but for 6,900, he's an experienced golfer. I might come back to him. Although now that I'm looking at this, windy as fuck conditions are bad, so I'm kind of talking myself out of it the more I look into Ryan Armour. But it's a guy at 6,600 that is just cheap enough to kind of stash at the bottom end of your lineup.
Okay. I see another guy over here at 6,900, which I don't really love this week, but I do love him because you promised me that he's going to be the very first guest on the podcast. Bo Hostler.
Bo Hostler. Bo Hostler. That's the guy, man.
I don't know how. I don't know why. He's a great putter. He's just got to get there. And he's somebody at 6,900. I don't know if I can justify putting him in a DraftKings lineup this week, but we got to give Bo Hostler a shout out.
For sure. Hey, if Bo Hostler ever wants to come on, that'd be great. Love to have him. Seems like a fun guy.
Yeah. All seriousness, no. The next level down, the guy that I really like is Will Gordon. One of the young guys, stud. Fantastic ball striker, excellent off the tee, and could put himself in a position off the tee to be approaching from the right direction. He's somebody that's a little streaky, can get hot, but young guy, struggled at Corrales, missed the cut there, but had a third at the Travelers this summer. And when he's gaining on the putting surface, when he's gaining around the greens, he's going to be pretty good.
For sure. What do you do about alphabet soup? And for those who don't know, that's Kiradech Apibanra, aka Alphabet Soup. He has been so bad this year, it's unbelievable. But I think he's a guy that might just put 2020 behind him and try to get a good start to this new season. I mean, he used to be a good golfer. He used to be ranked inside the top 50 in the world, and he has just been bad ever since. Really bad, missing a lot of cuts. But
too many cigarettes and sports cars, man. I mean, he's the rock star, right? He's somebody that you see at every WGC event, and he doesn't look like a golfer.
He does not, but I love watching him golf. I love watching him golf. And, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's done well at these island tournaments. I mean, he came in 70th at the Punta Cana, 27th at the Puerto Rico Open. That doesn't scream, comp courses that I really want to jump on Apibanra. But I don't know. This is kind of a gut play more than anything. I'm thinking I might use him in a few lineups and just see if he can bring the magic back. He's fifth in the last 3 months from the par 4, 350 to 400 that we've been talking about. So he's high up in that, but his irons are shit when it gets near the green. Those wedges, they kind of scare me. So it's a tough one to swallow, but I kind of got a gut instinct about him.
Yeah. So my gut instinct here, and this is more of a field play than anything else, the king of Punta Cana himself, Kelly Craft.
Oh, fucking Kelly Craft. I just knew it.
Terrible at every single course he's ever played his entire career, except for Corrales. And if there's any sort of course correlation that we're going to see there, he could be the guy this week. He could be the guy that sneaks into your lineup at 6,600.
It's actually wild. He's got great course history at Corrales.
and could just make it happen. He's missed pretty much every cut that he's played this year. He passed at Sanderson, Corrales, last two tournaments, might be rounding into some form. Kelly Craft could be a guy that you could sneak in there on a little bit of a flyer, probably a low percentage owned guy this week.
Yeah, speaking of percentages, I just pulled up the most popular plays this week, and the most owned guys right now. I mean, I think a lot of people are doing the stars and scrubs. It looks like Will Zalatoris, Harold Varner, Doc Redman, they're all high up there. Henrik Norlander, as we talked about, Wesley Bryant, your guy, my guy here. I mean, these are names that are going to be highly owned. So if you want to make some pivot plays, some of these guys that we just talked about in the low 6Ks might be, 2% owned, and they might be nice to just throw it in there. Kelly Craft, 3.5% looks like right now. So he might be a nice little play in there, a little contrarian.
Let's see. I don't keep scrolling down. I don't see any other names that really pop off the list in my rank. I got Michael Gillick, Chris Baker, Roger Sloan.
Mike Gillick, 11% projected ownership.
Really?
Yeah.
Where is everybody else seeing that?
I mean, he's had some decent showings recently. 27th at the Shriner, 37th at Sanderson Farms, but he missed a cut at Punta Cana. I mean,
yeah.
You want to talk a comp course? I mean, he's missing the cut in Corn Ferry events constantly. They're showing him here. He's had some nice rounds, but I mean, it's not someone that I'm jumping to. That's for sure.
Oh, maybe. Let's see. Josh Oda, Brian Gay, Alex Sekchuk. Oh, Jesus, I'm brutalizing that.
How about your boy Ollie Schneider-Jans?
Ollie Schneider-Jans, he could be a play this week. His brother Luke also made the field.
No way.
Luke, who's played 2 rounds ever on the PGA Tour, is going to be getting the start with him this week. Scroll all the way to the bottom.
He's at the 6,000. I do not see him.
Luke Schneider-Jans. So I don't know. That's not the only brother connection.
Oh shit, he is.
Yeah. Fred Funk is actually in the field this week. He kept creeping up with the little stat models, and I didn't filter by year and just by his past 50 tournaments. He's actually playing with his son, Taylor Funk, this week in Taylor Funk's PGA debut.
The Funk brothers.
The Funk, no, father, son, and the Schneider-Jans brothers.
Yeah, the Funk brothers' sons.
Yeah.
The Funk dad-son combo. Oh, all right. So we went through some of those low picks. I think we found some key guys we're really going to target for our DraftKings lineups. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm definitely going to grab 1 or 2 guys in that 10K range. And then I might filter down to that high 8s, low 9s, and then just filter them with those low 7 guys to fill out the group. I don't want to go quite stars and scrubs because as we just looked, that 6K range isn't great, but that 7K range, I mean, there's a lot of names in there I like, a lot of cheap guys that I think can definitely compete with even the 9K guys. So
yeah, I think I might wind up doing kind of a modified stars and scrubs where you kind of drift down from the 10s and the 9s and maybe get 3 guys in there from the 7,000 range. I really like Norlander and Malnati, Zalatoris and Harold Varner up there at the top. So I'll find some way to work those guys into the lineups. And then I really like, I don't know if we got to him, Anirban Lahiri and Wes Bryant and Percy as well, or some of the other guys, some of the other plays that I think I like down in that range.
Yeah, Percy jumped in my model, but I'm not a big fan, so might stay away from that. Yeah. You want to get into some one and done and some bets here?
Yeah, we can make that jump right now. All right, so let's start with the. I guess we can start with the outrights.
All right, so I've only put one of these in so far. I'm debating on the other ones, but right now I'm thinking Doc Redman, 26-1. Considering he's got those odds and he's top 3 or 4 in the field, even in the DraftKings pricing, I just think he can win this tournament. I mean, in terms of talent, he might be one of the most talented guys in the field. 26-1 is good odds. I'm going to put that one in. Rasmus Højgaard, I got to do a little bit more research on the European stats. I know he's been playing really well over there. I just want to do a little bit more research. He's 31-1. The bet I've already put in, Peter Malnati, 42-1. I'm riding the form. I just think he's a guy that I've had a lot of golfers recently that are doing well the first couple of days and then just shit the bed on Sundays. Peter Malnati's the opposite. He's kind of doing well. Sunday's his day. Sunday he comes and he fucking gains 7 to 9 strokes on Sunday and just gets up at the top. So I want a guy who's firing on all cylinders on the last day of the tournament, and for me that's Peter Malnati at 42-1. Justin Sue is on my short list. It's a guy I'm really considering. He's 42-1 too. We've talked about that. I kind of want to look into his Corn Ferry stats a little bit more, but I'm tempted to make that bet. Wesley Bryant, the more you talked about it, the more I was looking into it. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on that one too. I kind of like Duffner, but Duffner might be more of a top 10 play, if anything. But I might stay away from a top 10 play this week. I got burned last week with some of those. So I think I might keep the card short. I think right now it's probably going to be Doc, Malnati, and either Bryant or Sue. Probably is going to fill out the card.
And I like all those plays. People that are popping in both the models. The guy that I really like is Peter Malnati. He might be a fun live bet play, especially once you get into the weekend. We take a look at the conditions and see how things are evolving there, and where he is on the leaderboard. You've kind of got me into live betting. It's an exciting move once the tournament starts, watching everybody's odds shift.
We got to look at the tee time. So one thing that I've noticed is that, we put some of these bets in, and then all of a sudden you pull it up, and the guy's 1,000 to 1 worse than when you teed off. So a guy that's 50 to 1 jumps to 60 to 1. It's like, well, I wish I had that number. So, I mean, it might be good to just see when they tee off. If they're teeing off later in the afternoon, usually their odds jump down a little bit. So if there's a guy you really like, maybe wait a little bit. I think that's the play, Chris.
Yeah, give that a shot. And I think outside of that, the other guy that I might have at the top of my betting card would be Russell Knox. I just really like the odds on him. He's a good ball striker.
52 to 1.
Yeah, he is somebody that has potential to reach up to the top of the leaderboard and pull out the W.
Yeah, Russell Knox is a guy that I like, and he's on my short list here, but the recent form just hasn't been great. Historically, I like him. He does well on these coastal conditions. I mean, Scottish golfer, rains and windy every course you go to, so he's used to it. But I might stay away on the betting card. Maybe just use him in DraftKings. So I think that's it for the gambling purposes. You want to get into the one and dones?
Yeah, we can talk one and done. So I got to make up a ton of fucking ground in this thing.
So we're well into our season. We starting this podcast at the end of our season. We didn't think that it would still be going on, but COVID changed that. We're playing out to the Masters. Currently, I am in third place. Chris, you're where?
Shut up.
I actually don't know.
I am currently in 51st place.
Somebody's closer.
Significantly behind you and the boss man up there at the top. Chasing a little bit. I need...
This is out of 180 golfers, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to need about 2.2 million to get into the top 10 to even sniff the money at the end of the year. You seem firmly up there at the top. And I'm kind of burnt out on golfers. The good news is being off the... what?
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think you got to worry about the top. I think the thing you got to worry about is your brother-in-law. You got to beat him.
I know.
Where's he at?
Alex, he is 600,000 ahead of me.
38.
I know. We wagered an expensive round of golf on the end-of-year positioning, and something that I hope he forgets about is that he wasn't even in the league the first week, and he's still kicking my ass. So I got to make up some ground there. We got 3 tournaments left. I'm not sure who he's taking for the Masters, but that's going to be the move. I'm chasing him, and I'm also chasing my brother.
Yeah, you got 2 bets in there.
I know. Hopefully they don't come back to burn me. So it's a one and done this week based off who I have left. I might have to stick with recent form. I had Brandon Todd in there before I did any sort of research. And now just looking at the rest of the field, I might have to pull the trigger on Harold Varner this week.
It's a good play. Good form. Strong with the irons. I like that. Originally, I put Wesley Bryan in for mine. And... or not Wesley Bryan, sorry, Jesus. Peter Malnati. When I bet Peter Malnati, I went to put him in as my one and done, and I didn't really want to double dip on that. And the more I looked into it, the more I'm talking him up. I think Doc Redman's the play. I think Doc Redman can come out and win it, and if he can't win it, he's probably going to come in the top 5, and I need that money. I know it's not a lot for this tournament, but I'm less than $1 million behind first place, which is Mr. Adam Satino, and I'm gonna try to get that first place money. We got 3 weeks left. I know it's going to come down to the Masters. I've got a bullet saved for that, but right here it's Doc Redman.
That was hilarious. Anyways, moving on. We got to just wrap up some of these picks right now, and then we can get the podcast done, processed, and uploaded. We just went through some of the outrights that we like. I think we had Doc Redman for Bird, and I think for mine, I'm gonna have to go with Wes Bryant.
Old move, Cotton.
An old move. All right, Matt, a top 10 pick. Some guy that you want to play top 10.
Now, are we talking a betting odds perspective, or are we just talking who I think is the best chance of fitting in the top 10? Because
Best chance to finish top 10.
I'm going to go with Justin Suh. That's my guy right now. I think he's got the talent to be up there. I don't know if he can win it. He'll be fighting for the top, but I think top 10 is right in his wheelhouse.
All right, and for me, if I'm going to be betting on a top 10, I'm going to go with Mr. Consistency. I really like Henrik Norlander here.
Okay.
You know, the top 10. Like we said, good, solid form. He's somebody that just doesn't make bogeys, doesn't really make mistakes. So I feel like he's a pretty consistent play for top 10.
I like that. Okay.
Sleeper pick.
Okay. I don't know how much of a sleeper it is because he's low. He's not that low, but at 7,600, I'm going to take Sepp Straka.
Okay.
I think he has the skill set to kind of go out and win this. I think he's way low price for the quality of this field. I mean, he's competing. He was first round leader at Torrey Pines, I think, last year. Like he's a guy that can compete in some of these bigger things. So that's who I'm going to go with. I really like Sepp Straka.
All right, and my sleeper, who I'm going to go with, somebody I feel like we kind of glossed over. I thought that we were going to get to him. Doesn't putt very well, but it's pretty solid with the approach. Hasn't had great form, so I feel like he's going to be a true sleeper pick. Is Kyle Stanley. Good in the stat model that I have set up. Pretty good off the tee to green. Is okay with approaches. Just kind of sucks with the putter, but if he can knock it close. He's going to be a guy that might just fly under the radar. His last top 5 was the 3rd at the Puerto Rico Open, 28th at Corrales Punta Cana. So I feel like he can kind of get it done in some of these remote courses. So Kyle Stanley's going to be my sleeper this week.
All right, top 10 to fade. I'm having a tough time with this right now because I'm between two guys, but I bashed him so much. I
think we're going to have the same golfer here.
Are you looking at Hendrik Stenson?
Yep, it's got to be Henrik.
All right, you know what? If you're going to do that, then I'll do my other guy, just for the sake of having a little differentiation here. I'm going to go with Denny McCarthy.
Denny McCarthy. All right, so you say he doesn't get it done from the fairway?
I'm not seeing it, and it's hard to know because there's no shots gained data like from last year. Is he going to get it? Are people getting it done with the putter at this course, or are they really getting it done with the irons? If they're getting it with the irons, then I'm not worried about Denny McCarthy. If they're all doing it with putting, then I'm probably going to be in trouble. But that's who I'm going to go with here.
All right, so we can fade him out of there. All right, next thing we want to look at, what's a chalky golfer? Something that you're going to see in a lot of DraftKings lineups that you are probably going to have in none of yours.
Let's pull up the ownership real quick just to get a little idea of that. Chalky golfer that I will not have in my lineup. Well, Denny McCarthy's up there again, but no. It's probably gonna be Grillo.
Really?
I mean, I don't know how owned he's gonna be right now. It shows 16%, which isn't the highest, but it's like 6th highest. Denny McCarthy's another guy, but I'll say Grillo. I mean, I think six overall is pretty chalky.
Okay, and I think based off of some of the other ownership projections, I'm going to be fading Brandon Todd this week, just because I feel like recent form is going to play a good amount into that, and at the price that he's at, I'm going to have a tough time justifying him at that number. So he is going to be my.
So I wanted to do that. I liked Brandon Todd, but he's only he's only projected for 10% ownership. Because I think a lot of people are realizing, fucking Brendan Todd's $11,000. Well, why am I going to do that? I'll give it to you. We'll
Does he not qualify?
No, that's fine. We'll give you that. I mean, it's number 1 golfer. I'm sure people are going to gravitate to him when it comes to it. So I like that. $6,000 to $7,000 golfer in every lineup. I'll let you lead off this one because I'm not really sure.
That's got to be my outright. It's got to be Wes Bryant. He's in the $7,000 range. He's somebody that I'm backing pretty consistently. I think his betting number is pretty good at 50. What is he at? 52. And yeah, I've seen a lot of good form out of him recently. Getting him back on the tour, and he'll probably be sitting there at the bottom of every one of my lineups.
I like Wesley Bryan. He is 7,800, and think of him quite right away. Between two, I don't want to double dip. I think Sepp Straka is a good one there. I'll do two here. I'll do Sepp Straka as one because I'm all over him. But for the sake of being a little different, I'll say Duffner better.
All right. Awesome. Well, I can't wait for next week when we take a look at these predictions that we made and see how poorly we did on all of them. I can't wait to.
It's going to be awful.
We're
gonna miss on every one of these.
All right. So please don't take any of our golfing advice. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it pans out.
Maybe don't take Chris's golfing advice. I've had a pretty good year, but yeah, we are amateurs at best. Thank you for listening. If you got that far, I'll try to squeeze in some guest appearance clip if I can. But if not, thanks for listening. Have a good one.